Hey guys, what's up? Hope everybody's doing well out there today, and welcome back here to another edition of the Fishing Teacher. I really appreciate you guys checking the video out, and I'd like to invite everybody to subscribe if you haven't had a chance to do that. Much appreciated. Guys, today we're going to be talking about the flick shake, and I'm going to show you guys some tips and advice on how to rig it and how to fish it. This is one of the most highly effective lure techniques in the springtime of the year. It's really easy to fish if you're just getting started with fishing. This is a bait that doesn't take a lot to it, and you can get a lot of success right off the bat with it. So anyway, let's start out with the what it is and how to rig it. First of all, in order to fish the flick shake, you got to have a flick shake head. Now this is a flick shake head, guys. It's basically just a jig head. This one has a weed guard in it. I actually take my weed guard off. I don't really like the weed guard on there, but you can keep it on there. But this is just it's called a Gamakatsu wacky head, I believe. Also, guys, I'll put the Baitworks link in the description. If you guys are interested in any of this stuff I'm talking about, you guys can get it through that link there. But this is the Gamakatsu, I think it's called the wacky head, but I call it a flick shake. This is the 16th of an ounce model here, and it's got a sort of a EWG style hook on it, which is sort of like a jig head with no keeper on it. Now, how you rig it is you got to take a straight-tailed worm. This is a Zoom trick worm. You can do it with a Senko, but you got to have some type of a straight-tailed worm, and you simply hook it right through the middle, just like you would a wacky rig that we talked about, and that's the setup with it. So the difference really between a wacky rig and the flick shake rig is the weight on the head here. The wacky rig is just a straight hook, and the flick shake has a head on it here. So the reason you want to use a wacky rig, or excuse me, the flick shake, is usually when you want a little bit faster fall. So this can be if you're fishing maybe a little bit deeper water, or say, for example, the wind's blowing really hard and you can't really cast a weightless wacky rig good. This is when I use the flick shake setup on there, guys. But this is something that works for me all through the spring and summer. And the thing about the flick shake is you got to have some pretty clear water for it. I have not done that well on this bait if you have water visibility of less than, say, 3 or 4 feet. Ideally, I like at least 4 foot of clarity in it. So the lakes or rivers or creeks you're fishing in may or may not have that type of clarity. Not to say you can't get bit on it, but that's the maximum deal. But I basically fish it around, like, say, the back ends of coves this time of year. I'll fish it on secondary points. I'll cast it out there and just let it fall, and just watch your line as you're falling there, because for me, most of the time, I get about half the strikes on this as the bait is actually falling, and then the other half comes like as soon as it hits the bottom and you start working it. That's when the other half comes. But it's a really good bait to generate strikes on the fall, because the wacky style setup here, it's just falling a little bit faster than a regular wacky rig, and creates a reaction strike a little bit more. Now, once it hits the bottom and you start working it, just sort of hop it along the bottom, just sort of pump it off the bottom, maybe 12 inches or so. Work it for maybe 10 feet, and if you don't get a bite after working it like 10 feet across the bottom, just reel it in and make another cast. But guys, like I said, this thing does not get fished very much for whatever reason, but I have caught a ton of bass on this thing. This is like one of my favorite techniques. And personally, the scenario that I've done best in it is, say, for example, you go back into a cove on your favorite lake, and you get like 2/3 of the way back in that cove. I've caught a lot of fish just casting in the middle of the cove. Like if the water depth is like 5 to 15 feet deep and the water clarity is like 4 feet, just casting in the middle of that cove and letting it sink down, it works really good. If you use it weedless like this, I mean, you can also skip it underneath boat docks. I mean, if you guys have fished a shaky head much, with the weedless setup, you can fish it very similar to a shaky head. I know some guys that will fish it on the bottom, like on deep points, like say if they've got some fish that are 20 foot down, they'll fish it just like they will a shaky head. So it's pretty versatile, but it comes in, I think, 3 different sizes. I think it comes in a 16th, a 1/8, and a 1/4. I'm going to say 90% of the time, I like the 16th of an ounce. I like the slower fall. It still falls at a pretty good rate, but I just, for some reason, the 1/8 ounce and the heavier heads, I just haven't done that good on it. So anyway, guys, get you a few of them, flick shake. Most of the time, I'm rigging it on 6 to 8 pound test, Seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon line. You do fish this on a spinning reel all the time. But your 6-pound, hit the 6-pound line, 16th ounce head has been highly productive for me. So give it a try, guys. Another bait for your arsenal, the Flick Shake, bass catching dude. It'll definitely get you bit. So we'll talk later.